What's going on, YouTube? So the Honda Accord and Toyota Camry have been battling it out for decades. And for 2026, Honda is making some changes to up its game. And we just spent the last week with this refreshed Accord to see how it compares to Camry and others. Well, let's go ahead and find out. All right, let's kick it off under the hood. You can continue to get gas or hybrid versions. This is the hybrid model, a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine with 2 electric motors, making 204 horsepower. Power is routed to the ground via the front wheels, and the combined fuel economy is 44 mpg.
Now, the base price of the Accord this year is $28,000, and if you're looking to buy one or any vehicle, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price. Now, of course, we lived with this for the past week, so we have things to share, such as our real-world experienced fuel economy, but first we need to go ahead and shut up the hood and take a look at the exterior as well as the inside.
Now, as far as the exterior design is concerned, this refresh really didn't do anything meaningful to the overall exterior design. One adjustment they did make was that the sport trims get more blacked out elements, but as far as the touring you see here today, the top trim level, really not going to notice any type of design changes. I will say that of the people we showed this to, they didn't really receive the design too well, so maybe they should have paid a little bit more attention to the overall look and got it more up to date. You'll notice a blacked out grille here in the front, some blacked out elements down at the bottom, and a little silver accent here for the touring. As far as the lighting is concerned, still standard LED reflectors on all models, plus your LED turn signal and daytime running light at the top. And as we move to the back, it continues with that pretty conservative look.
Yeah, and as far as individual design touches, really the main element when it comes to that is the taillight unit. As you can see, it's pretty much all the way across the back, and I'm very happy to tell you that it's a very premium taillight unit, and that's standard across the board. That includes your LED brake light, your LED amber turn signal, and LED reverse light. So full LED across the board. That's very nice. And then as we drop down to the lower fascia, this is all a body color, a little bit of P&L black as well. No exposed exhaust outlets, unlike the Camry.
The wheel options range from 17 to 19-inch alloys. One change for 2026 is that the SE, which is the second from base trim level, actually will now come with 19-inch alloys. I like that they're making that available on lower-end examples. Here with the Touring, we have the 19-inch contrast alloys. I think they look very nice. Moving up here to our mirrors, all but the base LX will come with blind spot monitoring, and the EXL will get heating.
Now, at the side of the Accord, we do have a pretty good sized sedan. It's 195.7 inches, which is larger than most of its mainstream competition. And in terms of design elements, like Drew was saying, the sport trims, that's now going to have blacked out window surrounds here at the side, so that's a pretty big design change. I also really like this Canyon River blue paint color that we have. And as far as your active safety features, you get all of those as standard equipment. That will even include things like adaptive cruise control with a traffic jam assist. The Touring adds front and rear auto braking, and we did find all of those safety systems to work quite well this week. Now, there's actually quite a bit of luxury on the inside, so let's dive into that. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then, we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from sound level readings to cargo measurements, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars. Now let's move to the inside. First, here's our typical Honda key fob. You get a smart entry system and remote start across the trim lineup. And to get inside, just grab behind the handle and that will unlock the door. Now, just like with the exterior, the interior doesn't receive any major design changes. And let's start talking about some of the details, beginning with the seats. So you are going to have cloth seats until you move up to the EXL. That will get you a leather seat. That's what you see here, of course, on our Touring example. It's a nice and comfortable seat. You have perforation through the center, pretty nice bolstering, and some stitching details. You have black or gray color choices, but just be aware if you get a sport trim level, that's only going to be black. Moving down to the seat adjustments, you'll find a power adjusting seat on all but the LX, and then the EXL and above get memory seats located there on the door trim. Let's climb inside. Closing up the door, little animation pops up on the gauge cluster there, and let's look around at the cabin materials. So here on the Touring, we have leather across the armrest here with a stitching detail. We have a leatherette through there as well, and then a soft touch plastic on the top. That will continue across the upper part of the dashboard and through here as well. You get the single vent effect like many Honda products with a little bit of piano black, more stitched leatherette through there, and along our center console with some piano black around the shifter. Overall build quality is nice and solid. Let's fire it up with the push button start. Now let's move into some individual details, starting with the gauge cluster. As you can see, we've got the 10.2-inch digital gauge cluster. It is reconfigurable with a few different design elements. One of the big features, though, that the Touring includes is the head-up display. That does kind of put it at a lower price point than the equivalent Camry, where you have to get the loaded model and some additional options to get that. Now, taking a look at the steering wheel, we have that typical Honda design. It is leather wrapped. We also have steering wheel heating and rain sensing wipers on the top end Touring, manual tilt and telescoping. Taking a look at interior storage, Honda always nails this, and the Accord is no exception. We have a very large center console capable of holding 13 donuts. So Baker's dozen, it does sail past the dozen donuts required to pass the test, and that's really good for a sedan. In front of that, we have two cup holders, and we have some more storage up here in the front. This is a 2026 update as well, because wireless phone charging is standard on all trim levels this year. As far as the shifter, just a traditional style, pull back for drive, go forward for reverse. When you go into reverse, you'll find this camera on all models. It does have active trajectory, and you have some different views that you can choose between. Just be aware, there's still no 360-degree camera system option, which most of the rivals do have available. Behind that, you have your electronic parking brake with your brake hold system and your drive mode controller. And then as we move to the center section, just like we see on many Honda products, we've got these very high quality knobs to make adjustments to the temperature. This is a dual zone automatic setup for almost all of the trim levels. Again, I like the nice physical knobs here to make those adjustments. You'll also see seat heating on most trim levels, and then seat ventilation here on the Touring trim level. And then we have another knob up here. This is our volume knob, of course, and for the Touring, it will be controlling a 12-speaker Bose audio system. So if you'd like, grab some high-quality headphones and let's listen to a quick sample. Yeah, it's a pretty good sounding sound system. I did tweak the, I did tweak the sound settings just a little bit to get it more balanced to my taste, but I will say I think this is a better sounding sound system than the JBL that you get in the Camry. All right, let's zero in with our main infotainment system. Now, this is an area where Honda has made some improvements as well. The lower end trim levels used to come with 7-inch displays, which obviously is very small for this segment. That has now been enhanced to a 9-inch display as standard equipment. The upper end examples, as in the Sport and above, now come as well with a 12.3-inch display. That's what you're looking at right here. This is a nice display. We had a good experience with this week. Wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay paired really nicely. The performance is pretty good. This system does also come with Google built in on the top trim, so you have things like Google Maps natively in the system. Up top here, we've got an auto dimming mirror. And then finishing us off, we have a standard size sunroof.
Now, I consider the rear seats to be a highlight area of this Accord because look at it. It is super spacious back here. It's also quite comfortable, but let's go ahead and hit those space figures first and foremost. We're looking at 40.8 inches of legroom and 37.3 inches of headroom. Those are going to be really class-leading figures. That is larger than the Camry, the K5, and the Sonata, and you certainly can feel that back here. This seat is adjusted to Drew's 5'8" seating position. I'm 5'9", and look at how much extra knee room I have. I brought along the official Car Confections ruler so we can actually measure that. We're looking at about 11.5 inches of knee space. That is absolutely phenomenal. Also, my feet can easily slide up underneath of the seats. The seats themselves are also quite comfortable. That's something we complained about in our Camry XSE that we used to own as well. And then if we fold down the center armrest, there's 2 cup holders inside of here, a nice padded armrest. We have standard vents on every single Accord. We also have standard USB ports. There's a little bit of a hump, so be aware of that. And then if you look over at the door trim, you'll find another, pretty nice feature for the Accord, and that's going to be the heated back seats, and that's going to be included here on this top-end touring trim level. And the rest of the door trim materials are quite nice, and you have bottle storage down on the very bottom. Let's check out the cargo area. In order to open it up, there is a button underneath of the lid, and as far as cargo capacity, 16.7 cubic feet is what you can expect in the Accord. So really, just like the second row, this is the largest option that you can get in the midsize space. It is going to be really, really big and practical, which is quite the benefit. As far as individual features, you'll notice that the seats do fold 60-40 split. And let's go ahead and get our cargo length, width, and height figures. As far as overall cargo length, what we're going to be sitting at is 44 inches behind those second row of seats. The opening comes in at 37 inches wide, and the height pretty solid at about 21.5 inches. The load-in height, it's a sedan after all, it's not going to be too tall, and it is only about 26 inches. Then lifting up the floor, as you can see, there's a little bit of extra space under here, but there is not a spare tire. And, speaking of all the rivals that I've been mentioning throughout this, if you want to see how it compares, go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. We've looked at all of the sedans on the market and ranked them in individual categories, things like cargo capacity, interior luxury, technology, powertrain choices, and value. And you can see the best options and sort the list actually based on the categories that matter most to you to really make an informed buying decision. So definitely do yourself a favor and go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings and check all of that out. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the 2026 Honda Accord. In this test drive, we have quite a lot to discuss, including that real-world fuel economy. But first and foremost, we need to go ahead and start with a hard acceleration.
All right, that takes us to 60 miles per hour with this Accord. So overall, the acceleration is pretty good with this model when you're going for the hybrid. So we kind of talked about that a little bit at the very beginning of the video, but you can still get a traditional gas option. It's just going to be on your lowest 2 trims. That's a 1.5 liter turbocharged engine. This, though, is the hybrid system, the 2-motor hybrid system. It's a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine with 2 electric motors. We have 204 horsepower and 247 pound-feet of torque. That's going to be good to bring this model to 60 miles per hour in under 7 seconds.
Yeah, that's pretty solid overall. And over the past week, we've definitely really enjoyed having this hybrid system on board, that all-electric torque that really gets you off the line. It really does feel pretty quick overall, especially for this segment of vehicle. Now, compared to the gasoline option, this is 0 to 60 in 6.7 seconds. The gasoline is actually not half bad either. It's 7.3 seconds to 60 miles per hour, and that's going to have around 190 horsepower for that version. So yeah, if you're one of those people that really don't like hybrids, I'm happy that they will still sell you a full gas option for those of you like that. But the Camry has gone fully hybridized, so that's something to keep in mind. That's an important distinction between these two products.
Now, the operation of Honda's hybrid system means you have a direct drive system. It does behave kind of like an eCVT. We have shift simulation under hard acceleration as well. And overall, it's really a smooth operating hybrid system. It gives Toyota a run for its money. It might actually be better than Toyota in the overall smoothness of the operation. We really, really liked living with this hybrid system.
Yeah. Now, as far as how power is routed to the ground, I do want to point out one of the Accord's kind of unique elements, and that's that it's only available in front-wheel drive. That is something that the vast majority of rivals have added an all-wheel drive option. The K5, the Sonata, and the Camry all have all-wheel drive variants, and the Accord is still not going to be delivering that, so that's an important distinction.
Now, we talked about this a lot with other Honda products, but Honda's really good at bringing in a little bit of athleticism even into, mainstream vehicles. So even though this is not geared to be like super enthusiast oriented, it does still have a pleasant driving dynamic when we go around some corners here on this country road. I really like how balanced it feels. Also, the steering is very direct. It has a nice immediate response to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does all of that without really sacrificing the ride quality. This is a very nice riding vehicle. Living with it for a week, you have the chance to drive it over all types of road surfaces. And certainly we've experienced a very solid ride. I think it does ride maybe better than our Camry XSE that we used to have on the channel as our long-term tester. This does feel like a really great combination of a comfortable ride while still giving you that sporty characteristic. And also, certainly, I will also point out that these seats are way more comfortable than our Camry XSE seats. If you followed that long-term ownership experience, you definitely know that we complained about that. These seats are much, much more comfortable. Now, when it comes to your fuel economy, there is a hybrid powertrain under the hood, and it does give you pretty good fuel economy. So what we're sitting at for this trim level is 46, 41, 44 miles per gallon combined. That is slightly lower than what you get in the Camry. That's rated around 46 mpg for the front-wheel drive variant. The gasoline model, the fully one, is 32 mpg, and you can get all the way up to 48 mpg on just the EXL grade of the hybrid system. So, kind of depends on the trim level you select, but really it's going to be a good fuel economy no matter which model you select, as long as you get the hybrid variant. As far as our real-world experienced fuel economy, at the time of us filming this, we haven't fully concluded our driving for the week. However, we've been seeing some really great numbers. Actually, in our first 65 miles, we were sitting right around 50 mpg. I don't think it'll land that good over the full week, but some really good numbers, at least initially, on this model. So expect to have a very efficient package. And we're on our designated strip of road to get things like our sound level reading. So let's go ahead and see how quiet it is at 55 miles per hour. 54 decibels is what we're sitting at as our sound level reading here in the Accord. We don't have to sit here and guess how it compares to some of the competition. We can find that at carconfections.com/sound level readings and see how it compares. Now, compared to some of its competition, the Kia K5 and the Hyundai Sonata are going to be the quietest midsize sedans that you can get. They're only about 51 decibels, which is really phenomenal if you want a quiet cabin. And the Toyota Camry is slightly quieter than this, but I do want to point out that Hondas typically are on the louder side, and we are in the touring trim level. They tend to add more sound deadening as you get the higher trim levels. So if you get a lower trim Accord, be aware it's probably going to be one of the loudest, if not the loudest midsize sedan that you can buy.
Now time for the slam dunk and airball for the day. I will start off with the slam dunk. We're going to say it is the hybrid system. We really like this hybrid. It's just super well executed. It is really easy to live with, but it also gets fantastic fuel economy. It's very smooth and powerful as well. So it just really was a highlight of living with this for the past week.
Yeah, and coming from owning a Camry for, thousands and thousands of miles, I think this hybrid system is also a lot quieter too than our Camry, which I appreciate as well. It makes it feel a little bit more premium. Now, on the flip side, our airball is just going to be, well, first of all, I think they should have done a lot more when it comes to the exterior design on the outside for this refresh. They didn't really change anything. The only thing is that black trim on the sport grades, and this touring actually has 0 changes on the outside. And also, we kind of wish that they would have added all-wheel drive. I think that's a big advantage that the Camry has, and the Camry is outselling this 2-to-1. So I think that's one of the reasons where the Toyota is kind of doing above and beyond what the Honda is offering. So what about the pricing? So as I said at the very beginning, you started around 28 grand. You can see the full lineup of trims on the screen right now. And this fully loaded touring model is sitting a little over $40,000. You can see it on the screen right now as tested today. But that is going to represent quite a bit less money than what you would pay for a fully loaded Camry, for instance. If you're curious as to where it's manufactured, it is here in the US. And if you're looking to buy a Honda Accord or any vehicle, we'd encourage you to check out carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you should do that is because we have a tool on our website that'll connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool to use if you plan on doing some dealership negotiation. You can find a link to that down below in our video description, as well as a pinned comment at the top of this video, and there's even things like a monthly payment calculator if you want to use that. But what about Honda's resale reliability and warranty? First up, let's talk about resale value. Honda as a brand is rated at 64.79% of estimated retained value after 5 years and 60,000 miles, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 34.34%. Now, it's worth noting that that is actually a very good resale value percentage. It is actually the very best brand across every vehicle make that we look at in the 5-year metric.
Now, it's also strong when it comes to reliability. With our combined reliability index and the latest 2026 data, Honda is one of the top-rated overall brands and, of course, is above average compared to all other vehicle makes.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale values, reliability information, or our methodology, you can find all of that on our website, carconfections.com. Now, when it comes to your warranty, you have a 3-year, 36,000-mile basic warranty, a 5-year, 60,000-mile powertrain. You do also get 1 year and 12,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. And guys, that wraps up our in-depth review of the refreshed 2026 Honda Accord Touring. If you enjoyed hearing our 7-day impressions of this model and comparing it to the Camry, we'd really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button down below and becoming a part of our Car Confections family. We have a lot of fun on this channel, and we strive to provide you all with the latest and greatest reviews. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support. You make this all possible, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.